The pig is one of the most intelligent of all mammals, with learning abilities similar to dogs. The pig is a very sociable animal, a descendant of the wild boar who still roams the forests of Asia and Europe. This is how we often imagine the pig, roaming on green pastures. For generations, American farmers raised hogs in this way. Pigs generally lived as instinct prescribed, in small, peaceful social groups, grazing and rooting in the soil for food. Like her wild ancestors, the pregnant sow could seclude herself and build a nest for her young. She gave birth in the shelter of an outdoor hut. Piglets would remain in the nest for several days before venturing out to graze the pasture with their mother. In mild climates, pigs could live outdoors year-round. In colder climates, pigs were sheltered in straw-bedded barns. Family farms like this once characterized America's countryside, but hog pastures and straw-bedded pig pens are no longer commonplace. Increasingly, pigs are being raised on factory farms. Hog manure is liquefied and stored in huge open cesspools. Modern-looking buildings conceal barbaric practices. This female will spend her life in a small metal crate. On this factory farm, thousands of pregnant sows are restrained in this way. Boars have been brought into the corridor behind the sows to detect females who have returned to heat. But the sows are prevented from walking or even turning around. When first imprisoned, the young female tries to escape. But after finding that she is unable to leave, she becomes inactive and unresponsive. Scientists refer to this as learned helplessness. Later, the sow develops repetitive patterns of movement that appear to serve no function. These abnormal behaviors are termed stereotypies. They are similar to the stereotyped behavior of clinically neurotic people. Scientists note that the development of abnormal behavior in pigs resembles the development of chronic psychiatric disorders in humans. When it is time to deliver her piglets, the pregnant sow is moved to this crate. This sow will give birth within 48 hours. She instinctively wants to build a nest, but she can't. In fact, the sows in these crates can barely move, so their distress and their stereotypies intensify. The industry claims that the crate prevents the sow from accidentally crushing her piglets. But this technical approach fails to allow the sow's own protective instincts to function. Given enough space to maneuver, a sow instinctively lowers the front of her body and slowly crawls forward, giving piglets who may be underneath her the time to escape. On the factory farm, pigs are deprived of bedding. The floors are perforated so that urine and feces drop into a collection pit. There, the manure is liquefied, then flushed to a cesspool. Here, a newborn piglet struggles to reach the sow's udder to nurse, but he is frustrated and endangered by the crate's perforated floor. Traditionally, family farms did not wean piglets until they were 6 to 8 weeks of age. But on the factory farm, the nursing period is cut radically short, so the sow can be re-impregnated quickly. In nature, the nursing period can last 3 to 4 months. Today, many factory farms remove piglets from the sow within a matter of days. These piglets have been moved into cages. The pig is a very clean animal by nature, but on factory farms, pigs cannot escape their own waste. The feces is pressed through the perforated floor by the piglets themselves. As the young pigs grow, they will be crowded into a series of small, barren cages and pens. The finishing building is the final stage before slaughter. Here, the crowded pigs live on bare concrete slats built over a manure pit. The air in the closed buildings contains toxic bacteria and gases, so workers are advised to wear protective masks. Pigs confined under these conditions commonly suffer from respiratory disease. Hog factories are proliferating across the United States. Their construction has sparked opposition from local residents, protesting the destructive impact that factory farms have on the environment and on rural communities. One hog produces up to 4 times the raw waste produced by one human. A single hog factory can produce as much waste as a small town. But manure handling is poorly regulated. In this area of North Carolina, the soil is sandy and the water table is high. The land quickly becomes saturated with the liquid manure generated by the pig factories. Runoff from these fields into rivers and other discharges from pig factories have overloaded area waters with nitrogen and phosphorus. Pig factories emit large amounts of ammonia gas into the atmosphere. The ammonia returns to the earth in rain, increasing algae growth. When manure is liquefied, salmonella and other pathogenic bacteria are preserved in it, increasing the amount of pathogens in the environment. Irresponsible management practices have also led to the bacterial contamination of wells at nearby homes. Well-financed mega-farms can survive the extended periods of low prices that result from the overproduction they helped create. A pig factory such as this, built by absentee owners and operated by hired labor, displaces hundreds of smaller family-run farms. A newsreel shows how the stage for factory farming was set over 40 years ago with a laboratory discovery.
Big news for farmers. Antibiotics, the so-called wonder drugs, added to the diet of poultry and pigs, bring amazing results. In pharmaceutical laboratories, terramycin is prepared for use on the farm. Just a tiny amount of the drug, only 10 grams of it to a ton of feed, is added to the animal's diet. Yet what a change it threatens to bring about. For it has been discovered in tests from coast to coast that antibiotics, famed for their germ-killing power when used on human beings, have an extraordinary effect in promoting the growth of animals. These piggies go to market in half the time it normally takes. Poultry, too, show a remarkable growth rate when tiny amounts of antibiotics are given. In addition, the wonder drugs have cut their death rate in half. Scientists now are investigating the possibility of applying wonder drugs as a supplement to the diets of children. Here now is an 8-week-old chicken fed on a regular diet. The second one has had the antibiotic supplement. This sort of thing may revolutionize the meat business. A new insight on the miracle of growth from Magical Pharmacy down on the farm.
The discovery that feeding antibiotics to farm animals boosted production paved the way for today's factory farm. Stress and disease arise when animals are crowded into barren environments without exercise, wholesome air, or sunshine. Drugs enable factory farms to operate despite these conditions. This drug use continues at great cost to humans. Not only does it lead to drug residues in meat, it also creates antibiotic-resistant strains of bacteria. Though factory farming is expanding in the United States, many cruel practices are being curtailed in Europe. In Sweden, for example, a 1988 animal protection law requires that farm animals be allowed to behave naturally. And a 1986 law prohibits routine use of antibiotics in farm animals. A study in this Swedish forest emphasizes how divorced from nature the factory farm is. This woodland resembles the natural habitat of the wild boar. These domestic pigs from the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences have been released from the school's indoor pens into this pine and beech forest. Scientists observed the maternal behavior of the sows here for 3 years. It is spring, and several of the sows in the forest are about to give birth. Like her wild ancestors, the domestic sow isolates herself and selects a nest site. She shapes and clears a hollow in the earth. She is the offspring of generations of sows raised in confinement, but she instinctively travels several miles to gather materials and works for 3 days to construct her nest. This sow has built a nest that is partly covered and crawls inside. Several hours after intensive preparation, the piglets are born. Piglets leave the nest for the first time when they are 10 days old, following their mother on a foraging expedition. In a couple of weeks, the sow will rejoin the herd with her new litter. Even though the pigs are given ample food by human caretakers, the pigs instinctively spend much of the day rooting for food, insects, fungi, and roots. On the Bergvall farm in central Sweden, pig housing is designed to take the animals' natural behavior into account. The pigs are kept indoors, but they are given sufficient space for their social hierarchy to function. This permits the sow to maintain peaceful social relationships. Individual feeding stalls ensure that each sow gets her full share of food. In this farrowing room, the sow can seclude herself and build a nest in which to deliver her piglets. The nest boxes are dismantled when piglets are about 10 days old. Then, like their wild ancestors, sows and piglets live in a social group. Cost-efficient systems such as these easily refute the claim made by factory farm corporations that sows must be locked in crates. Observations of domestic pigs in the Swedish forest emphasize the fact that the pig's ability to enjoy life or to suffer is not altered by the choice humans make to confine and eat them. Great Britain has joined Sweden in outlawing the chaining and crating of pregnant sows. But legislation is only one way to create change. In the United States, the Humane Farming Association is combating factory farming by appealing directly to the American public. Using television, radio, and national news publications, the Humane Farming Association is waging a national campaign to stop industrialized pork production. HFA's strategy is simple, yet effective. Reduce the demand for factory-raised pork, and thereby reduce the suffering of animals and the destruction of the environment caused by pork factories. Pigs are living beings with complex social instincts and behavioral needs. They are not simply meat-producing machines. But unfortunately, that is how they're being treated. It doesn't have to be this way. And with your help, it won't be. Please join us. The pig is one of the most intelligent of all mammals, with learning abilities similar to dogs. The pig is a very sociable animal, a descendant of the wild boar who still roams the forests of Asia and Europe. This is how we often imagine the pig, roaming on green pastures. For generations, American farmers raised hogs in this way. Pigs generally lived as instinct prescribed, in small, peaceful social groups, grazing and rooting in the soil for food. Like her wild ancestors, the pregnant sow could seclude. Pigs were sheltered in straw-bedded barns. Family farms like this once characterized America's countryside. But hog pastures and straw-bedded pig pens are no longer commonplace. Increasingly, pigs are being raised on factory farms. Hog manure is liquefied and stored in huge open cesspools. Modern-looking buildings conceal barbaric practices. This female hid herself and built a nest for her young. She gave birth in the shelter of an outdoor hut. Piglets would remain in the nest for several days before venturing out to graze the pasture with their mother. In mild climates, pigs could live outdoors year-round. In colder climates, Male will spend her life in a small metal crate. On this factory farm, thousands of pregnant sows are restrained in this way. Boars have been brought into the corridor behind the sows to detect females who have returned to heat. But the sows are prevented from walking or even turning around. When first imprisoned, the young female tries to escape. But after finding that she is unable to leave, she becomes inactive and unresponsive.